All right, welcome to Show 'em the Door, the Vanderbilt Sports podcast by two aspiring intramural athletes. I am one of your hosts, Christopher Conway.
And I'm your other host, Willem Azanero.
And we're here to make Vanderbilt sports content for the average fan.
Yes, sir.
We're just regular dudes. I didn't play a minute of high school sports in high school. So obviously not college either. And just to give you my stats, we went 0 for 6 on cornhole last week.
We're the best 0 for 6 cornhole team in the league.
Never been a better team. But so we want to start with our football content this year because Vandy just got their first home win in 2 years. So that was important to us, I guess. So we were at the game. What were your initial reactions, Willem?
Well, it wasn't a wonderful game. We had a good lead for a while, and then I watched it crumble before my very eyes. And if you follow our Twitter, you saw my live tweets through that. And
at Show 'em the Door on Twitter.
At Show 'em the Door on Twitter, indeed. It was not great to see. And we came through in the end, got the win by the field goal. There are some things to take away from this, obviously, and we're going to go through that today.
Yeah, my initial reactions, it was just sad, kind of. Like, I like our, I think there's some promise in our football team for sure. But, having a considerable lead on UCONN, who is the worst D1 team in college football right now, and then kind of giving that up at a point where you have to make a last-minute drive to win the game, isn't the best look for Vanderbilt football right now, but I still think that win is a big step forward for Clarkley and, the whole program.
For sure.
I guess let's start like analyzing the offensive side of the ball. So I think quarterback is the easiest thing to kind of analyze, right? So Ken Seals is our starter. How do you feel about Ken Seals?
Ken Seals at times does well, and at times he does not so well. He's inconsistent. Like, he'll drop an absolute dime of a pass and then throw it into the visitor stands the very next play.
Yeah.
And you never know which one's going to happen.
I think I tweeted during the first game that this was the fourth uncatchable ball from Ken Seals. It was when we were playing ETSU in the third quarter.
Yeah.
It was it's disappointing because he had a really good last season. And, I felt like, he's in a new offensive system. So obviously there's probably going to be some problems, transitioning, and he's a young quarterback. I still think that he has all of the tools to be successful. Like, he'll drop absolute perfect passes at times. Mm-hmm. But I think some of the problem relates back to the offensive line issues that we've been having.
That's very true. Like, he's throwing it to guys with skill. We've got Pierce. We have
Will Shepard.
That was his name.
Yeah.
And then we've got Cam Johnson. Those are three great receivers. They will catch the ball if it's thrown in their general vicinity.
Right. They're so shifty. The issue is
it doesn't quite get there sometimes.
I feel like that trio of receivers is honestly the prototype for even NFL teams right now. Because you have Chris Pierce Jr., who's just an outstanding athlete. He'll make those jump ball catches. He has a catch radius of a mile.
Oh, for sure.
And then you have Will Shepard, who is like a shifty guy. He's a good wide receiver too, even though he probably gets targeted more than Chris Pierce just because he's a better route runner. Mm-hmm. And then you have Cam Johnson, who works in the slot, and he's, he does what he needs to do. He Mr. Reliable, though he's been a little inconsistent at the start of this season, but generally speaking, he's a pretty reliable target.
And Pierce and Shepard each had over 100 yards receiving at the UConn game.
Yeah.
The first time since 2016 at Tennessee, where two Vanderbilt receivers
don't talk about Tennessee.
where they both had over 100 yards.
That was a bad year. Yeah, but I think so. Our offensive coordinator, he was a wide receiver coach with the Cardinals. He's worked with some insane wide receivers throughout his life. Like DeAndre Hopkins, Larry Fitzgerald.
Yeah, for sure.
Like some all-time great talents. And so, I was really excited for him to come in and kind of use his knowledge in order to open things up for our offense. And I don't know if it's necessarily his fault. I don't think it probably is. It might just be the first time in the first year in a new system that he's creating. But it feels like our offense doesn't feel cohesive.
Yeah.
Our running game it's sometimes we commit to it, sometimes we don't. I think that's partially due to Ramon Davis getting hurt. Rip Ramon. I loved Ramon Davis watching him play. He was my favorite player watching him play.
He was nice. We hope that his recovery goes well.
Yeah, he like tear a ligament in his toe or something like that.
Season-ending surgery.
That's. I hope he comes back better than ever. He was having an outstanding start of the season when we were kind of having a little bit of a forgettable start.
Oh, for sure.
And so, I'm excited to see him in the next years. But now we have Rocco Martin?
Griffin.
Rocco Griffin.
Griffin.
Rocco Griffins our starting running back now. And he actually played well against UConn, but again.
He surprised me. He did a lot better.
Yeah.
Than I.
He had 33 rushes against UConn. Yeah, he had a lot of yards.
Kind of fed him the ball now.
Yeah, and so you have games like that where you really rely on that rushing attack. It felt like anyway. And then you have times where you can't run the ball, I guess. I guess using Georgia isn't a great example because our offense got all of 3 yards against Georgia.
Georgia's a great team.
Georgia's a great team.
When we're playing against people that aren't Georgia, that's when we really see what our offense is made of.
Right. And so, it's the expectation that people have that we're going to be this SEC contender is just, that's not going to happen.
Not plausible at this point.
Right. But as that maybe continues into the next few years in the Clark Lee system. He's proven that he's a good defensive coordinator at Notre Dame. And even though I'm not personally a Notre Dame fan, his stats throughout FBS records show that he can provide a solid defense.
Yeah, we've got nice coordinators now, offensive and defensive.
True.
We have a good quarterbacks coach who's calling the plays offensively.
Right.
I think he was an assistant coach at Ball State for 14 years before this. So we've got the guys making decisions that are going to do well. Now it just comes down to it's brand new. All these guys in the system that have to relearn it based on the new stuff.
For sure.
Not going to...
He hasn't also got to build any of his recruiting depth yet.
Exactly. It's his first year.
I think the biggest misunderstanding that comes with college football is, unlike the NFL, every person that comes in is not a great football player at a D1 level. You have more of those people when you're in an SEC school, especially if you're a powerhouse like the Alabamas and Georgias of the world. But when you're a school like Vanderbilt, who also has pretty consistent coaching turnover because of the lack of success we've had in recent years, it's hard to build a team when you have coaches coming in and leaving so often, which is why I really loved the Clark Lee hiring.
For sure.
He has ties to the area. He went here. He went to Montgomery Bell Academy.
Really?
Yeah, he did. He grew up in Nashville, went to MBA, was a fullback for Vanderbilt.
Oh, yeah.
And so, you think that he's going to stay here and has connections to try to build the program.
Exactly.
And so I think that if he can do that, I think Vanderbilt has a significant amount of potential as, years go on.
Yeah, I really like the decisions that Vanderbilt Athletics has made at a high level, like hiring Candace Lee as the...
Right. Yeah.
We've got Shia Ralph as the women's basketball coach now. We hired Coach Lee, what was it, $300 million? That just got poured into the athletic department?
Right, yeah, we're renovating all that.
We're committing to success on an athletic level, but that doesn't happen immediately.
Right. And
$300 million doesn't solve all your issues in one night. It's going to take development and years even.
Yeah, and so I'm people who are always people will always be pessimistic about Vanderbilt football because it's it kind of has the stereotype of being not very good. But I don't think that it should I think that we have a great chance of becoming a pretty strong team in the next couple of years. We have really nice foundations in key areas. So switching to the defensive side of the ball, I feel like our cornerbacks are better than they get credit for.
Yeah.
They are obviously outmatched when it comes to Georgia receivers because 3 of those guys will be first-round picks in the next 3 years.
Georgia outmatches every team in the nation.
Right. Yeah, that's not disrespect to Vandy by any means, but
that's respect to Georgia.
Yeah, Georgia is just
they're up there.
A very good team. But my favorite player on the team is Jalen Mahoney. And I kind of dogged him out the first game. I was tweeting when we were at the ETSU game, and he got beat on 2 go routes. And I was not happy with Jalen Mahoney. But he's picked it up the last 4 weeks.
He seems like one of the highest effort guys on our team. He
right.
really is out there trying. getting tackles, really working hard like he wants to.
He actually stood out. When we didn't have a single standout during the Georgia game, it felt like I saw Jalen Mahoney on multiple different plays.
He was the only guy that tackled him.
Yeah, I think we tweeted about that. We were like, Jalen Mahoney looks like the only person that wants to tackle right now.
That was a tweet.
And, that's... we're not saying that like our team doesn't want to tackle Georgia, but Jalen Mahoney was certainly making a great effort on it.
He's a standout.
Anthony Orji was making some really nice plays against UConn. I think our linebacking core is better than people think it is.
Mm-hmm.
The only thing I worry about is it feels like in key situations we're still not knowing what we're doing.
Like the drive where UConn scored.
Right, twice. Two drives in a row. It just...
almost to end of the game.
My biggest pet peeve when it comes to defensive play in football is playing off coverage on 3rd and medium to 3rd and short. It feels like as a defensive coordinator, unless you have somebody who is just an absolute track star 4-2 athlete who has great cornerback instincts, playing off coverage on a 3rd and 4 is just essentially giving the other team the first down.
Automatic yards for him.
Like, I don't want to say I would rather get burnt on a long pass, but, most people on 3rd down on an offensive mindset, they're looking to get the first down. They're not looking just to score. Yeah, especially when it's a 3rd and short. And so I would rather, I guess, play the probability game that if I can press this guy and not give a quarterback, especially a UConn quarterback that was a backup at that time, an easy throw to get this first down, I'm going to take that every time. It's not like UConn had amazing quarterback play during the course of that game. But
yeah, that's another thing to think about because their starting quarterback got injured. They had their backup in there.
True. Backup played well, though.
Rest of the game. He did perform well.
For a backup, he played pretty well.
Oh, for sure.
It's just there are different strategies when it comes to defensive ball. And I feel like sometimes I have a heavy disagreement with how our formations have been throughout the early part of the season, for sure. I think we should give a big shout out to our kicker.
Oh, yeah. Second game winner of the year. Both of our wins from
his last name is Bolivas, right? Yeah. I don't know what his first name is. Is it Joseph? Okay. He transferred from Alabama.
Yeah.
I don't know why
he won 2 national championships and he said, I'm going to go to Vanderbilt.
I guess, at that point, you've won. Might as well go for a great education.
Well. Yeah.
We don't want to be at Alabama for a degree. Unless it's like law school or something. They have a good law school. Anyway.
Nice. Great addition to the podcast there, Chris.
You're welcome. I appreciate it.
Gotcha.
So I guess we can let's preview this week and then we'll go to women's soccer, right?
For sure.
So this week we play Florida.
At Florida?
I think so. Yeah. I think it's at Florida. I think they're favored to win by like 30 points.
Florida just took the upset loss
to Kentucky.
At Kentucky.
They're probably not going to be very happy about that loss, and it's not going to be a fun time. We're not going to win that game.
Just the revenge game.
Yeah, we are not. We're not going to win that game. What I would like to see from Vanderbilt in that game is during the first few drives, I want to see some effort. I want to see maybe a 3rd down stop. That would be cool. I feel like we have the defensive capability to make a stop.
Oh, for sure.
I don't think that we beat Florida. They have so much talent. Dan Mullen is a great coach. They are a great team, even though they seem to choke in weird situations. But I want to see that from our defense and then from our offense. I want to see us take more chances. At this point, we're 2-3 going into SEC play.
Yeah.
I don't know if a bowl game is considered in the picture.
Probable at this point.
Yeah, but even if it's not, even if it was, I don't think Florida's the game that we're going to win. So why not just kind of let our team lay it out there on the line? Take those 50-yard shots, see what Ken Seals can do, give a chance for our receivers to make plays.
Ken Seals can't really prove himself unless you give him that chance.
Right.
And I feel like at this point, going into a Florida game, if you're going to take a chance, now's the time.
Right.
Might as well.
Yeah. And so, I think if those things happen and we can keep it close for like a quarter, and then, it's probably not going to go super well, especially in the swamp. It's a terrible atmosphere to play in. I think if we can keep it close for a while, though, I think I would see some distinct positives. And, we'll be live tweeting during the game, see if that happens.
As always.
It'll be fun. It'll be a good time.
I'd like to see effort plays on defense.
Yeah.
Some changes on offense, some shots to take there.
Mm-hmm.
I'd like to see some nice rushing from old Rocco still, because he played a nice game the other night.
He did.
And I would like, in Ramon's absence, to really have some nice rushing.
Rest in peace, Ramon.
We love you, Ramon.
Yeah. Ramon, watch the podcast. So, also going to rushing real quick before we go to women's soccer, I've always felt like this season we could use a dual quarterback system, and I hate dual quarterback systems as a precedent.
I can't believe we haven't talked about him yet.
Yeah, and so using Mike Wright as a quarterback, I feel like Ken Seals is probably a more polished passer than Mike Wright is.
I'd say that.
But I feel as if Mike Wright adds an element to the game that Ken Seals just doesn't, in the fact that he makes everyone have a +1 advantage for the offense than the average game.
Yeah.
And even if it was just rolling him out on a bootleg and letting him scramble if he feels like that's what he needs to do, I feel like stretching the defense in that way allows our offense to be more creative. And I really wouldn't mind, and again, this is not something that I've ever really enjoyed, I feel like using a pistol formation where Mike Wright lined up beside Ken Seals, and then being able to kind of use him as a running back if you need, or if you want to do some weird trick play formations, throwing to Mike Wright, doing some double passes maybe.
Interesting hot takes.
It would be an interesting thing that I feel like at this point, why not look at?
For sure. I really like putting him in.
Yeah.
We've started the game. We saw it in the Eastern Tennessee game, first thing.
Mm-hmm.
We start the game with Ken Seals.
Maybe
Maybe around the
well.
second quarter,
Mm-hmm.
we put in Mike Wright, and he can run.
Mm-hmm.
So the defense is used to having Ken Seals up there. Now they've got to worry about Mike Wright running around.
Yeah.
And it immediately changes the dynamic of the game. And it's really nice to keep a defense on their toes like
balance.
that, off guard a bit.
Yeah, on their heels. But yeah, so, the expectation is not to win on Saturday. If that happened, we'll be having the podcast immediately, and that will be the only thing we'll talk about next week. But
if we beat Florida, we'll be bragging about it until the end of the year.
My
we'll
God.
bring it up every podcast.
Yeah, every single podcast will start with, remember on October, what is in 2 days? What, like the 11th? Anyway, remember on the second Saturday in October when we beat Florida? I bet Kentucky's doing that
It'll
right
be
now.
That's it.
I bet
It'll
Kentucky's
be welcome to Show 'em the Door, the podcast where we live every day remembering when we beat Florida.
Yeah. It doesn't, I grew up as a UTK fan, so we don't beat Florida either. So
we love to see Florida lose.
Yeah, I love to see Florida lose no matter who it is.
But it'll be an exciting game. There will be some things to look for growth in the future.
Yeah.
And as always, we will be live tweeting.
Mm-hmm.
So make sure to check out our Twitter.
Yeah, at Show 'em the Door. Show EM_DORE.
For sure.
Anyway, but let's get into women's soccer now.
Moving on to soccer.
Yeah.
The soccer season is well underway. We've won our last 2 games in SEC play.
True.
We beat Alabama 3-0.
Mm-hmm.
I believe that was away. And then at home we
beat
Arkansas.
Missouri.
My bad. We beat Missouri 5-0.
Yeah.
Which I think is impressive.
Yeah, Missouri is not a very good team, let's say.
At women's soccer.
In women's soccer. They're bottom of the SEC East. So they're not, let's say, a powerhouse, but
Alabama, I think, was a quality win.
Yeah, Alabama, I think, is 3rd or 4th in the SEC West, so that's a pretty quality win.
Oh, for sure.
With those wins, Vanderbilt sits at 3rd in the SEC East, which puts us in a good position for the tournament.
Oh yeah, for sure. To come back and
win again.
Try to win it again. Yeah, that's what we do here.
We have some turnover of the roster, so it's probably taking a minute to get them to click. And if we can keep this win streak going, we can be as good of a powerhouse as we were last year.
For sure. I think at the time we're filming this tonight, we play Kentucky.
Mm-hmm.
I think Kentucky is low in the standings.
Yeah, Kentucky is not a good team either.
That's going to be a win. We hope.
We
and
should
I think
be able to keep
the 3-game win streak will give us some nice confidence when we play number 5 Arkansas on Sunday at home. I'll be at the game, live tweeting. show up. It'll be very great.
Yeah, it'll be a good time. I
It'll
think
be a
they're
good
also
time.
giving out cookies. So.
They are giving out cookies.
Show
and
up.
It says bring your dog.
Oh, okay.
It's like bring your dog to the
I didn't know that was a
stadium.
thing.
Neither did I, but I like it. So that'll be nice. I really like what I'm seeing because we're getting good scoring.
Yeah.
From a plethora of people. I believe in the 5-score Missouri game, it was 3 or 4 different scorers.
Wow.
Put in those 5. And Kate Devine, our goalkeeper, is playing really well. And she's a sophomore.
Yeah, it's her
Last
first
year
year.
we had Sarah Fuller starting. So I really like what I'm seeing with our
so she's young and is going to continue to develop.
Oh,
too.
for sure. I think we've got strength beyond this year too.
Right. So, keeping that future outlook, I think that Vanderbilt soccer is going to be around for a little bit.
For sure.
Well, do you have anything else to say about soccer?
I think that about wraps it up, other than look at our live tweets.
Yeah.
Show up to the game on Sunday.
Follow the Twitter at Show 'em the Door. We've plugged it, I think, 3 times now.
We've got an Instagram too.
Yeah.
If you want to check that out.
Willem manages the Instagram.
I sure do.
It's also just at Show 'em the Door. Do you have like underscores in that?
I believe I do.
It's show_EM_the_DORE.
Thank you for spelling that out.
You're welcome.
I appreciate that.
But overall, again, thank you for tuning in to Show 'em the Door, the Vanderbilt Sports podcast by 2 intramural athletes. And we'll see you next week about the same time.